When someone disappears, there is often a straightforward explanation. Yet in some cases, the vanishing appears to be so bizarre that it defies all logic. Is it possible that there are forces at work in nature that we cannot explain? It was sometime after midnight on February 26, 1985, when Richard Brownwell and his fiancée Sandra O'Grady left a bar in Newport Beach, California, with a man who was flying them to Las Vegas to visit the casinos. An hour later, a single-engine Cessna 152 two-seater plane plunged into the Pacific off Newport Beach. The bodies of Brownell and O'Grady, neither of whom could fly a plane, were found strapped to the seats, but there was no trace of the pilot. No engine faults were discovered, and 3 intense ocean searches failed to find another body. Investigators looking for the third person reported that a car belonging to the plane's owner was discovered near to the plane's tie-down spot at John Wayne Airport, but the owner could not be found. Nor could investigators establish that the owner of the plane was in fact the pilot who went off with the 2 victims. Equally mysterious was the disappearance of Graham Marsden, an unmarried businessman of Poole, Dorset, in England. At 5 a.m. one day in January 1989, he filled up his red Volkswagen Polo at the Rownham service station on the M27 near Southampton. After paying his bill, he asked the way to the men's room and was last seen walking toward it. After an hour, the gas station attendant went to look for the man. Finding no trace of him, he called the police, who searched the surrounding woods with tracker dogs. The police found that Marsden has no personal or financial worries. If he planned to disappear, mused a police spokesman, why did he fill his car with petrol first and leave it at the pumps? And why choose a service station miles from anywhere? We are just mystified. On July 14, 1990, a trip organized by 2 societies, the Orkney Heritage Society and the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, brought 88 people on a ferry to Ine Hollow, a small island off the coast of Scotland. However, only 86 people returned from the trip. The police and Coast Guard searched the island thoroughly, and a helicopter scanned the area around the island. Despite the efforts, they could not find the 2 missing people. Ine Hollow has a reputation for being mysterious and connected to the occult. In fact, it was nicknamed the Vanishing Isle because of local legends. One story says that no mice, rats, or cats can live there, and another says that any grain cut after sunset will bleed. These are likely just stories, but when logical explanations run out, people sometimes consider other possibilities, even strange ones. In this case, it's hard to imagine how else 2 people could just disappear. Ever succeed in making matter invisible? According to one self-professed witness, the U.S. Navy accomplished this astonishing feat in 1943 when it allegedly made a destroyer vanish into thin air. The result of the experiment was complete invisibility of a destroyer-type ship and all its crew at sea in October 1943. The field was effective in an oblate spheroidal shape, extending 100 yards out from each beam of the ship. Any person within that sphere became vague in form. Somehow, also, the experimental ship disappeared from its Philadelphia dock, and only a very few minutes later appeared at its other dock in the Norfolk Newport News Portsmouth area. The ship then again disappeared and sent back to its Philadelphia dock. Einstein's theory. The above is an extract from a letter written on January 13, 1956, by Carlos Miguel Allende, also known as Carl Allen, a former seaman, to D. Morris Jessup, an astronomer and author of The Case for the UFO. The experiment, claimed Allende, was an application by a scientist called Dr. Franklin Reno, or Einstein's unified field theory. This is a theory that attempts to connect the fundamental forces of nature. Reno, Allende claimed, had successfully connected the field of gravity with that of electromagnetism. Disappearing destroyer, Allende stated that he witnessed the disappearance of the destroyer, the USS Eldridge, while on board a merchant ship, the SS Andrew Forsyth. However, the appearance of the Eldridge in the Norfolk area was something that Allende claimed he had only read about in a Philadelphia newspaper. According to Allende, the success of the experiment was marred by terrible side effects on the Eldridge crew. Once, during a dockside bar brawl, some of these crewmen, contended Allende, vanished into thin air. He further claimed that there was a report about his incident which had appeared in a Philadelphia newspaper sometime in 1944-46. In the best-selling book they wrote about this mystery. The Philadelphia Experiment, 1979, Charles Berlitz and William Moore reproduce a newspaper clipping of such an account. Yet the clipping does not bear any newspaper name or date, and its column width is greater than that of any Philadelphia newspaper published in the 1940s. Naval Records. Dr. Jessup seems to have believed Allende's story and conducted research on it. Naval records show that Allende was, as he had claimed to be, aboard the Andrew Furuseth in October 1943. But these records show that the only possible date on which that ship and the Eldridge could have been, though there is no evidence that they were, in the same vicinity was August 16, 1943. In addition, no other former crew members of the Andrew Furuseth have at any time corroborated Allende's story. Alleged mastermind. There is also no mention of Dr. Franklin Reno, the alleged mastermind behind the experiment, in any reference works. Berlitz and Moore claim that his name was a pseudonym, that they traced and interviewed him, and that he died several months later. The authors say Reno told them he was a top scientist for the U.S. military, involved in research into the use of electromagnetic fields to deflect torpedoes and mines. The U.S. Navy has always denied that the experiment took place, and there is no other evidence that this or similar experiments occurred. It seems probable that the Philadelphia experiment existed only in the mind of Carlos Allende. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my stories, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.